TheMudbrooker did a video about a fucked up story, and his story took place when he was attending Baptist school as a child, and his story immediately brought to mind two fucked up stories that happened to myself and other kids in my church group when I was a child. These didn't happen when I went to Christian school. I was at our Baptist school 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. But these happened when I was much younger. The first one happened, I probably was about 4th grade, so 8, 9 years old. And we had vacation Bible school. And our church used to do, they used to have special guest speakers in, and usually they were fun things, like clowns doing balloon animals, or a man where you'd come up front and he'd have this huge paper and you'd just draw any squiggle line on it and he'd make a beautiful picture out of it, and things of that nature. But one year we had one day of the Vacation Bible School, they were showing us a movie, and it was a testimony movie, meaning that it was a person who had not been a Christian and then had some life-changing thing happen to them and then became a Christian, and how great God was for saving them, etc., etc. So this movie was about a gentleman who was a pilot, a hobby pilot, and he was flying his plane somewhere and was in an accident, and he was burned over 90% of his body. And during this movie they were showing pictures of this man in his burned body as he narrated the story. And these were horrific pictures. Now mind you, these were kids anywhere from age 5 all the way up to 17, 18, high school seniors that were watching this movie. And one of the pictures that just really struck me and horrified me was one that they showed of him lying in his hospital bed. And I don't know if any of you have ever seen someone who's burned this severely, but they, at this time, and this would have been back in the early 70s, they didn't put anything on the patient. They were literally laying naked on a sheet, and he was so burned that you couldn't tell what he was. His fingers had fused together, his arms were, one arm was fused to the side of his body, and they were, slowly through surgeries and physical therapy trying to, do what they had to do. But he looked horrific, and his head was swollen to probably 4 times its normal size, and he looked like a toasted marshmallow. And of course, when they showed the picture, there were many kids that screamed, and there were a lot of kids that started crying. And of course, the follow-up to this was his wife was a Christian, and she had brought her minister in, and the minister had told him, the pain that you felt while you were burning alive in this plane is the pain you would feel for eternity burning in hell. And there were a lot of children that were then scared to come up front when they had the invitation to accept Christ as your Savior. That's, just a wonderful way to get children to follow along, scare them into it. It was horrific. And, and this happened 40 years ago, and I still can remember it like it was yesterday. It just burned itself into my memory and will probably be there until the day I die. The other instance was, I don't remember the exact timing of it, but our church was, I know that I was still quite young. I was, again, probably 8, 9, or 10 years old. And our church was hosting a Christian movie. and it was like a Hollywood production. And this, I don't remember so much of the movie. I remember one particular scene of the movie. Um, the storyline was there were several characters, and all of them were at a crux in their life where they had to make a decision to either continue to live their worldly, ungodly, secular ways, or to accept Christ and to become a Christian and begin living godly, pure lives. And one of the characters was a partier, young man, 17, 18, 19 years old, who was quite the partier and rode a motorcycle. And he had sought counsel from a local minister. And during one of these counseling sessions, there was a big argument that happened between him and the minister, and the young man stormed out of the office, and he jumped on his motorcycle and he sped away from the church. And at some point there was an accident, and he was decapitated. And they, now remember, this is back again in the early 70s, so there wasn't the graphics available that there are now for the realism of the movie, but it was pretty darn real to a bunch of 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds watching this movie, watching this man's head come off of his body in this accident, and seeing his head in his motorcycle helmet rolling on the pavement, trailing blood and gore behind it. And again, the screams and the misery, the fright, and the horror from the kids was ridiculous. And there were a lot of children, again, who came forward after that movie, who got saved. And of course their parents right there behind them, patting them on the shoulder, giving them hugs, and telling them they were oh so proud of them. Just, it boggles my mind. And as Muddy said in his video, there are today thousands of people who make a living from scaring our children and horrifying them, scarring them for life, through those kinds of measures. That they're showing them these kinds of pictures and these videos, and even worse. I think that there's a church group or a company that produces hell houses, which is at Halloween time. They set up these haunted houses or spook houses, and it's all about frightening people into becoming Christians. At the end of you going through this horrible maze of things, there are all of these Christians waiting in this room, just waiting for you to come in so that they can talk you into becoming a Christian. It's repugnant. It's just horrific. So anyhow, I just thought that I would share those as adding on to Muddy's stories of the things that happen in churches and how fucked up they truly are. I will leave a link to his video in the Panties bar. And thanks for listening, guys.